Hello everyone, welcome to the Bendix King Radio KNG2 command tutorial. We're going to go over the functions of this radio, we're going to go over what the buttons mean, we're going to go over how to create a zone, how to delete a zone, how to create a channel, and where you can put those channels into, and then overall radio configuration. So let's get into it. All right, starting with the functions of the radio, or just looking at it all together. You notice the radio is shorter. We have a volume knob, we have a channel knob. The channel knob is free spinning and doesn't stop. The volume knob is shorter, so that with a gloved hand, you're supposed to be able to tell which one you're touching so you don't accidentally flip a channel when you're trying to turn up your volume. You have a priority toggle switch and you have a scan toggle switch. Also here located on the collar here, if I turn the back right here, so there's a little thumb size or finger size hole right there, I can switch between these two functions right here, which is a direct and non-direct selection. The orange button is the cloning option. It's a quick clone option. We don't have, and this is not an emergency button because these radios are not going to be tied to a central dispatching network. So there's nowhere for an emergency signal to go to. So now this is instead just a quick clone option. On the side here, you see we have the push to talk. We have up top here, we have two rectangular buttons. The top one will be to change your receive tone. Let's see if I can hold that better right there. There you go. Chat changes your receive tone. The bottom one will change your transmit tone. And then this little button down here, that's just a quick toggle for your backlight. On the back here, this is the battery case. This is the AA battery case. It holds 8 batteries. This will last about 3/4 of a day, maybe half a day if you use it a whole bunch. I've had them last up to 1 day. Over here is the other one that's going to come with your radio. This is Sinus Strike Team Firefighter 2 radio. This is a lithium-ion 3600 milliamp radio. When this is full battery, when this is fully charged, this will last about 3 days, 2.5 to 3 days. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll turn on the radio so you can see the functions. So as we turn the radio on, you'll notice that there's a color screen, radio boots up, and now we're in business. So looking at the radio, I have it laid out to where it says your zone, the channel you're on, and the frequency of that channel. That's the transmit frequency. P1 stands for priority 1, which every radio, whatever, I have this one set up so wherever my selector knob is, that's going to be my priority channel. I'll show you later how to make that happen. Otherwise, you can set a different priority 1 channel, and we will go over that. Here you have direct, which on this radio it's called talk around, so I can turn that off and turn that on with that toggle I showed you earlier. The H stands for high power. The radios are always transmitting at high power mode. That's a hard setting that we put in this radio. When you create a channel, you have the option to change that in that created channel, but otherwise for everything else, they're always going to be in high power. These blue keys are your menu select keys. So it's not a touch screen, so you have to use this like the Motorola radios. So this arrow also is a directional arrow for when you get in the menu. So let's see, it selects menu at the same time, but then also it goes up and down the menu. Zone. Zone now is the banks. It's the banks or groups. It's all the same thing. So I hit zone, there you go, zone select. There's all those banks. We're going to call them zones for the sake of this tutorial. You can also hit the number of the zone you want to get to. Right now I have 19 zones programmed into the radio. But if you know you want to go to zone 15, you don't have to hit the zone and go up and down the menu. You can literally just type 15 and it'll go straight to it. Pretty easy. Other than that, that's the options when you turn on the radio. Let's go ahead and hit these side buttons so you guys can see what they do, at least for the transmit, receive, and then the backlight. I'll go over the priority and scan in a bit. So if I hit backlight, it goes to the backlight option. And here I have a quick toggle. So in case you're in the engine and it's really bright and you just want to turn it down, you can go to dim. There's a custom setting which you can get into, and then you can kind of put how light or dark you want to make that setting. You notice when I want to leave the menu, I just push escape, just like you would on our other radios, or back is the function you might see on your cell phones or something like that. Up top here, like I said before, these are to set your tones. So let's go ahead and hit this top one. And there you go. It's my receive tone. So now I can change my receive tone. There's 32 selectable tones. There's a default tone, which is that 127.3. But I can choose any of them. So like, we go to St. Louis, we choose tone 11. If you want to put tone 11 on here, you must remember you got to put the receive tone in for that channel. And you have to put, which on the bottom, boom, transmit tone. Okay. So you got to change them both, because on some fires, they have a frequency that'll have a different transmit and receive. You don't have to manually change these if it's programmed with it already in place. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, that's kind of the functions on the side. You will be able to find these in the menu, which we'll go over in just a minute. Let's get into the menu options. So I'm going to select menu, and here we go. In this radio, there are redundancies. There are things that you'll find in two separate places. So the backlight you'll find here, you also find on the side. Same thing with scan and priority and the receive and transmit tones. So here we have a backlight. Then we have channel add or delete. This is what I'm going to use to add or delete channels from my command zone, to pull from other zones in the radio. So basically to build a command group. Here I have channel scan. That does the same thing as flipping the toggle to turn my channel scan on or off. If I forget that I could use the toggle up top here, I can just use this option in the menu. Channel scan list, that's how I'm going to create a scan list. That's how I'm going to pick what channels I actually want to listen to. Cloning, this is how I can clone my radio. Again, redundancy, I can use that button there, or I can use the option here. Priority channels, this is where I select my priority channels, what channels I want to listen to over anything. This is also where I can make the option of where it's my toggle right here, or I can make one in the radio itself. Priority scan, just turn on priority scan. That's what that does right there. Transmit power, that's already preset, but I have that in there in case you create a channel from scratch. You can choose selectable, so I have that in there so you can make that option. Receive tones, transmit tones, does the exact same thing as the side buttons we looked at earlier. Zone scan, this is how I can scan multiple zones in the radio. If I want to scan zones 14 and 15 because I'm on an incident, I can scan just those two zones, but it'll scan only the selected scan channels in that zone, which we'll go over. So when I go up here to channel scan list and I create that in that zone, you remember that if I come down here to zone scan, it's only going to select the ones that I picked up there earlier, which I'll show you. Zone scan list, that's showing what you have selected already. So if I select every zone in the radio, I can do that. Zone select does the same thing as when I was at the original home menu and I just typed in a button to go to the zone, or I selected here where it said zone, or I can select zone through here. 3 ways to go through and find what zone you want to be in. Battery life, this won't work with the AA battery clamshells. It'll just say up to unavailable. But if I use the lithium ion batteries, as long as they're not completely tapped out, it'll show me how much battery I have left in actual minutes. Keypad programming, that's where I program functions on the radio. That's where I create a standard zone or a command zone. That's where I create a channel with a frequency from scratch. That's where I do all my radio programming that used to be done with the old knife method, if you guys remember, or we had the programming plug that we put in that had the red toggle on top. All right, let's go ahead and get into how to build a command zone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the menu. I'm going to go up to keypad programming. I'm going to hit 0 6 times or until it bonks. I hit enter. I hit enter on keypad again, and then here is where I'm going to get into programming that zone. So I'm going to go down to zone. Don't worry about global or system. Those are to change the functions of the radio and like how the face looks and all that stuff, and we're not going to do that. That is not something anyone needs to worry about. That's going to be for people who are programming the radio at home in the department. So we go to zone, and from here we're going to move on and get to programming these and build that command zone. For the sake of this tutorial we're going through right now, we're going to add a zone. So let's go to add zone. Here I have 2 zone choices. I have a standard zone and a command zone. Difference in these is that a command zone, I can only add channels that are already created. Meaning if it's in the radio, I can move it to that command zone. The standard zone is what I'm going to use if I need to build a frequency from scratch. Like if I'm building the receive and transmit frequency, the receive and transmit tone, I'm choosing digital or analog. That's what your standard zone is going to be. So if you're making something where you have to build everything from scratch and none of the frequencies are in the radio, create a standard zone. However, if the frequencies are already in the radio, which if you're going to CAL FIRE incident, usually they use CAL FIRE commands and CDF tacs. Those are located in the radio. You can just move them to that command zone. So for the sake of right now, we're going to create a command zone. Hit enter, zone 20 added. Well, why did it say zone 20? Because I have 19 zones already programmed in here and 20 was the next one available. So now that I've created that zone, I'll show you where it is. We go back, I'm going to exit out. I'm going to hit zone, or I can just type in 20, but I'll hit zone so you can see it. And now we're going to scroll all the way down through the entire radio. And there it is, zone 20. If I hit enter, there's nothing in there because I haven't added or deleted a channel to that zone yet. And once I do that, that's what will start to build it up. Once you've created your command zone, let's add some channels to it. So we're on an incident. So we're on a CAL FIRE incident. And I need to add CDF commands and CDF tacs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the zone that I want to pull the channel from. So let's go to channel zone 5, CDF command and vFire channel. I hit enter. Here's all my channels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through and I want to use CDF command 6. I'm going to hit menu. Back up here to the top. Remember where I saw these options, right? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go to channel add or delete. And it's going to say, where do you want to put it? Because these are the only programmable zones that I have, because those other ones are already in the radio. They're hard in the radio. And I'm moving a channel. Like I said before, you can only move channels to the command zone. You can't create one and put it in there. So we're going to create it, put it in zone 20. It's going to say, hey, there's nothing in there. So this would be in the first position. I go, sounds good. Channel added. Now I go back and I want to use a CDF tac. So I'm going to go to zone, and here I have all my CDF tacs listed 1 through 20. So let's use CDF tac 5. There we go, CDF tac 5. I'm going to say menu, channel add or delete, add in that command zone. It's in position number 2. Sounds good because something's already in 1. If I put it in 1, then it'll move whatever's in position 1 into position 2. It'll kind of bump them over. So there we go. That's in there. Now, to get back to that zone, I want to look at my command zone and make sure I did it right. So I'm going to go in here, and I know it's command zone 20, so I can just hit channel 20. And there it is. CDF command 6 and CDF tac 5. Now that I've created the command zone, I need to build a channel from scratch. So I need to build a zone and a channel and everything from ground zero. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to go to menu, to this keypad programming. Since it keeps a memory, it remembers the last place I was. So menu, keypad programming, password again, oh, not 8s, 0s, keypad, zone, and I want to add a standard zone. Remember, the standard zone is where I can add frequencies. I can add built from nothing frequencies. The command zone is I can add channels that were already created and are in the radio already. This is where I'm making something from nothing, pretty much. So enter, notice it says zone 21. So the reason it says zone 21 is because, remember, our command zone is in position 20. So now it's in position 21. So from here, I'm going to go back, channel, and now edit, add, delete channel. Same thing as the zones. It'll delete, it'll add, you can edit a channel. So I'm going to say add channel. Where do I want to put it? Zone 21, because that's my standard zone. Look what happens if I pick zone 20, which is my command zone. Can't be programmed, right? Because I can only move channels into there. But if I choose channel 21, zone 21, my error, or any other zone that's standard for that matter, it'll let me put it in there. It'll just say, where do you want to put the channel? Right now I have nothing in this zone, so I'm going to say, I'm going to put in, oops. I'm going to put in position 1. So there we go, channel added. Now, I know this seems like a lot of back and forth on the buttons, but it's the way that the radio is. So now I want to fix that channel. I want to edit it. So now I want to actually put in the frequencies. I got to go find it again. It's in zone 21. There's channel 1 now. And now I can edit everything about this channel. As we go through and create a channel, for the sake of using these radios, remember, you're always narrowband and you're always analog, okay? So there's analog, digital, and mixed. We haven't programmed these radios to do mixed. I know some people may think, oh, these could replace the Motorola's. They actually don't work that way. They can't hold analog and digital at the same time. Either the radio is completely digital, like digital trunked, or it's not. These are all analog. And then this is how I change everything. Change the label, change the what you call the channel, change the frequency, the guard, that's also known as the tones. You can either create a tone or you select it from the 32 that are already in the radio. See that? So I suggest you definitely mess around with this with your crews and just create a channel and make up some numbers and put it in there and then save it to see how that looks. This is definitely something you got to play with. So after this portion, I'd like you guys to pause, create, say, 2 command zones, 2 standard zones, and put 2 channels in each, or 1 and 1, whatever you want to do, but definitely get some muscle memory of putting that together. Good job. You've created a standard and a command zone. I hope you practice those with your crews. Now, let's learn how to set up a scan list. Because now I've created all these zones, I want to know, how do I scan them? Well, for that, let's go to a zone that we're going to mess around with this in. Let's go to the Santa Barbara County zone. Now I'm going to go back to my menu like we saw earlier. And I'm going to go to channel scan list. Now every channel that's in this zone has a box next to it. Check means it's in scan. No check means it's not. Pretty simple. We can select or take it out as much as we want. Once you exit out, the settings are saved. Now up here where it says channel scan, I can either turn my channel scan on or off. That does the exact same thing as this toggle right here. So watch when I say on, channel scan on. And you'll see a C with a Z, means channel scan is on. And then I turn it off, channel scan off, that C with the Z is gone. Pretty simple, pretty awesome. And that's how you do that for any zone that you're in. So remember, when you set your scan list, you only set it for the zone that you're in. It won't set it for the entire radio. It just does one zone at a time. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and figure out how to set a priority. So now I'm going to go into here. And I'm going to go priority channels. So I can set a priority channel for just the entire radio or the zone that I'm in. So notice here it says zone 2 because I'm in zone 2. So watch when I leave. Let's go to zone 5. 5500. So zone 5. I go to menu, priority channel, see, zone 5. So again, I can set a priority channel for the entire radio or just the zone that I'm using. It's up to you. I like to use the main select for the entire radio right here. Use main, which this is considered the main. Or for the entire radio, you go down to select and you go through this whole options to find which radio you want to select for the entire radio. Or you can come back here and you can set the priority for just zone 5. So now when I'm on zone 5, I can use main, which I already have that set for the system. Or I can go down here, I'll set priority 2 because I'm using main for the system, remember. So priority 2 means the second channel I want to use. So I'm going to say select, and I'm going to pick which channel I want to use. And that's my second priority. There we go. Now to turn my priority on and off is a simple flip of the toggle. On, priority scan on, priority scan off. So priority scan on, it's going to scan that second priority now. Because I kept my main for my system, but now I turn this on, it's going to scan for that priority scan for that radio in that zone. So it's going to stick with that.